Deep inside one of the world's most famous landmarks, hidden behind a smooth layer of stone, a narrow staircase climbs through a maze of concrete and steel, leading all the way into the head of Christ the Redeemer. Almost nobody knows it exists. From the ground, the monument looks like one gigantic block of carved stone. But that's exactly what makes it so remarkable. Because beneath its peaceful surface lies a hidden engineering structure that has survived violent storms, powerful lightning strikes, and nearly a century on top of one of Brazil's most unforgiving mountains. And considering where it stands, the real mystery isn't what's inside. It's how anyone managed to build it in the first place. Long before Christ the Redeemer became the symbol of Brazil, most people believed the project was simply too ambitious. The chosen location was Corcovado Mountain, rising more than 700 meters above Rio de Janeiro. The view was breathtaking. The construction site was a nightmare. The summit offered almost no flat ground to work on. Massive granite cliffs surrounded the site. Strong winds swept across the peak throughout the year, and thick clouds could appear within minutes, reducing visibility to almost nothing. Even reaching the top was a challenge. There were no helicopters, no heavy lift cranes, no modern construction equipment capable of carrying enormous building materials up such a steep mountain. Instead, everything depended on a narrow cog railway that had originally been built to carry tourists to the summit. Every bag of cement, every steel bar, every wooden beam, every tool, and every worker made the exact same journey. Without that railway, the monument would have remained nothing more than an idea. But transporting the materials wasn't the greatest obstacle. The real challenge was making sure the statue could survive. A monument standing completely exposed on a mountain peak would face relentless wind, tropical rain, intense heat, and some of the most frequent lightning strikes in the region. A traditional stone statue would simply be too heavy. A steel structure alone would slowly corrode, and ordinary concrete would eventually begin to crack. The engineers needed a completely different solution, one that had never been attempted on this scale before. Instead of building a solid monument, they decided to build a hidden skeleton first, a reinforced concrete frame that would carry the entire structure from the inside, just like bones support the human body. It was a revolutionary idea, but designing the structure was only half the challenge. Someone still had to transform that engineering concept into one of the most recognizable statues the world would ever see. And for that, Brazil turned to a sculptor thousands of kilometers away in France. In Paris, renowned French sculptor Paul Landowski was given an extraordinary task: design a monument that looked graceful from every angle, yet could actually be built on top of a mountain. He began by sculpting smaller models from clay and plaster, carefully refining every detail of the face, the hands, and the flowing robes. Once the design was approved, those models were enlarged into full-scale sections. The head, the hands, even parts of the shoulders. Thousands of kilometers away from Rio, the monument was already beginning to take shape. Those giant molds were then shipped across the Atlantic to Brazil, where engineers used them as guides for the final construction. But assembling the statue on Corcovado proved far more difficult than anyone had imagined. There was almost no room to work. The summit was narrow, the terrain was uneven, and strong winds constantly swept across the construction site. Building the monument in one piece was simply impossible. Instead, workers constructed it layer by layer. First came the reinforced concrete skeleton. Every new section was carefully connected to the last, slowly forming the hidden frame that would support the entire monument. Then came the outer surface. Concrete alone wasn't enough. It needed protection from decades of tropical weather while also creating the smooth appearance people recognize today. The answer was soapstone. Unlike marble, soapstone absorbs very little water, withstands dramatic temperature changes, and ages remarkably well. Millions of tiny triangular soapstone tiles were glued onto the concrete by hand, one after another, like assembling one enormous mosaic. Even today, if you stand close enough, you can still see the individual pieces that make up the statue's skin. But perhaps the greatest engineering challenge was the arms. Stretching nearly 28 meters from fingertip to fingertip, they couldn't rely on hidden supports beneath them. Every ton of weight had to travel through the shoulders and into the reinforced concrete core. The calculations had to be almost perfect. because even a small mistake could have created stresses large enough to damage the entire monument over time. After 5 years of relentless work, Christ the Redeemer finally stood above Rio de Janeiro. It looked effortless, almost timeless, as though it had always belonged there. But the builders had only defeated gravity. The mountain itself was about to become their greatest enemy. Almost immediately after the statue was completed, nature began putting every engineering decision to the test. High above Rio de Janeiro, Christ the Redeemer stands completely exposed to the elements. Powerful winds sweep across the summit. Heavy rain lashes the monument, and towering storm clouds pass directly overhead. But one force has caused more damage than all the others combined: lightning. Corcovado is one of the most lightning-prone locations in the entire region, and the statue is struck several times every year. Most of those strikes hit the head or the famous outstretched hands. For a split second, temperatures become hotter than the surface of the sun, blasting away tiny pieces of soapstone and leaving behind cracks that slowly grow over time. From the city below, the monument appears calm and untouched. In reality, it's fighting a battle almost every single year. Fortunately, the engineers had prepared for exactly this. Hidden inside the statue is a network of steel conductors that acts as a giant lightning protection system. Instead of allowing electricity to tear through the monument, the system safely channels each strike through the structure and deep into the granite mountain below. Without it, the damage from a single powerful strike could be devastating. Even then, the work is never over. After major storms, maintenance crews climb through the narrow staircases hidden inside the statue. From there, they reach small access points leading into the head and arms, allowing them to inspect areas that visitors never even realize exist. Broken soapstone tiles are replaced by hand. Cracks are repaired before they spread, and every part of the hidden structure is carefully inspected to ensure the monument remains safe. But restoring the statue has become increasingly difficult. The original soapstone used during construction came from carefully selected quarries nearly a century ago. Finding stone with the same color, texture, and durability is no longer easy. Even the smallest mismatch would stand out against one of the world's most recognizable landmarks. That's why preserving Christ the Redeemer demands almost as much precision today as building it did nearly 100 years ago. And what visitors never see inside the monument may be even more impressive than the statue itself. Step inside Christ the Redeemer today, and the illusion disappears. Behind the smooth stone exterior is a surprisingly narrow world of ladders, staircases, reinforced concrete, and steel beams stretching from the pedestal all the way into the head and both outstretched arms. It's less like entering a statue, and more like walking inside a building. This hidden network allows engineers to inspect nearly every critical part of the monument without dismantling its exterior. Whenever damage is discovered, they climb through these confined passages before emerging onto the outside of the statue, suspended hundreds of meters above Rio de Janeiro. From below, tourists see nothing. But only a few meters away, restoration crews are often replacing soapstone tiles one by one, repairing cracks and making sure the monument looks exactly as it did decades ago. Every repair has to be almost invisible. The shape must remain identical. The color has to match perfectly. Even replacing a handful of damaged stones can take days. That's why maintaining Christ the Redeemer has become a permanent engineering project rather than an occasional restoration. The statue may have been completed in 1931, but in many ways, construction never really ended. Today, more than 2 million people visit Corcovado every year. They come to admire the breathtaking view, stand beneath the giant outstretched arms, and photograph one of the most recognizable landmarks on Earth. Very few realize they're standing beneath a hidden framework that quietly carries hundreds of tons through reinforced concrete, survives relentless tropical storms, and absorbs powerful lightning strikes year after year. Perhaps that's the greatest achievement of Christ the Redeemer. It isn't simply that engineers built a giant monument on top of an unforgiving mountain. It's that they concealed one of the most remarkable engineering structures of the 20th century inside a statue so elegant. The world forgot there was ever anything hidden beneath the surface.